these are the people who I want to appeal to. Make those little slips. It happens. You have to have a plan, ability to manage your problems effectively. How are you going to do it? Fall off the horse? Jump right back on.
And welcome back. We are about to venture off into our third segment for the morning, and my favorite is in with us. Jenny Lovell, mental health expert, is in with us. Jenny Lovell. Jenny, good morning, and it's so nice to see you.
Good morning.
When I see you, I feel like I'm on San Pedro with a lot of breeze and yeah.
You brought the beach to open your eyes.
Yes, from Belmopan. Now, many a times we hear so much about taking care of ourselves, you know. And that's what we're about to venture off into. Many a times, again, we don't know how to take care of ourselves because we don't know self-care. So Jenny's here to tell us, what is self-care?
And this is important because a lot of people, especially like, people who are religious, believe that if you talk about self-care, being selfish. And no, actually, we're here to dispel that myth because self-care, if my well is empty, how can I give you water?
Yeah.
Right? How can I help you if I have nothing left? And so a lot of times, we have a lot of people who are workaholics and they run themselves right into the ground and expect that they're still able to give something to their children, to their wives, to their community, but deplete themselves. And so it's really important that we talk about that, the importance of not depleting yourself in the quest of assisting others, being a caregiver rather than a caretaker. Big difference. Big difference. Practicing self-kindness. I love these here because I think the whole idea of taking care of self is being kind to self. And it's not being, and it's so important that people understand, there are some people who take this thing to the extent where, yes, they are being selfish. Right.
I was going to say, because if every time somebody goes out and buys something, well, I'm taking care of me, but neglecting family, children, whatever, that's a whole different story.
It can be taken to the to way off out to another extent, right? But what is self-care? And I want to give you the definition. It is the actions, right, that people take to reach optimal, the best, the tip-top in your mental health, your physical health, your emotional and spiritual. Let's not forget spiritual health, the optimum, right? There are things you have to do to be able to accomplish that, right? So it's the ability also to be able to assess when you're taking care of yourself or if you're not, and doing something about it. So all those things encompass the term self-care. If I'm telling you you're not taking care of yourself, but you don't have the ability to assess for yourself, yeah, you know what? I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm not getting enough food, or I'm eating too much of the wrong type of food. If I'm not able to assess those things, how in the world can I self-care? Right?
Why is this so hard for some people?
Because they have been taught very young in life to be, to give away, to take care of everybody else. I know a lot of people like that, and unfortunately, in our profession, nursing, the professions where we are caregivers, people get lost in those professions and become caretakers, and we ought not ever do for somebody else what they can and should be doing for themselves.
Wow.
Because then we are now enabling, or we're really and truly we're ruining. The opportunity for somebody else to take care of themselves.
Let me give you an example of one outside of the caregiving profession where I see this. There are some mothers, especially single mothers, who give so much to their kids, understandably, but to the point where you look at them and they look haggard and tired, like they haven't done anything for them. And so not just physical appearance, but the exhaustion. Is that an example of of when they neglect self-care?
Neglect self-care. And unfortunately, you see, when you're doing that, you're doing so much and giving so much to the children, you're creating that sense of entitlement too in these children. So you're not only harming yourself, but you're also harming your children.
But you know what, Jenny? What is so hard to eventually get into this mentally is because we were actually grown up by seeing mommy taking care of the kids, taking care of the babies, and she was so passionate about it. And we want to be so much like our parents, and so we tend to fall back on that. So we don't do that self-care. We continue to be caregivers. How do we move ourselves from this when it's all we know?
Well, hopefully things like this where you're hearing the importance of taking care of yourself, that people will stop and self-assess. All right? It's important. Because if you're never told, then you don't ever know. Right? I'm sitting here saying it to you. We're talking about it. We started the year out. We're talking about goals. We're talking about the different things. And I listened to all the shows that you had where you're teaching people different ways of making their lives easier, making their lives better. But if we don't put it into practice, if we don't set goals and we don't put these goals into practice, then we're not practicing self-care.
Yeah.
Are we? When you really think about it.
So how does one recognize that they've perhaps been, I mean, there's also a state of denial that happens. It's not just that I haven't recognized that I've neglected myself. Sometimes I'm just doing what I know. I have to take care of my kids. I have to take care of my husband. I have to take care of the house. I have to take care of my mother. I have to take care of my husband's mother. And I have to maintain my job. I'm just doing the best I can. So.
Right. But in that equation, you've got to set some time aside for you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be anything like really major. Those little things add up. You know, we talk about mindfulness. I've heard yours. You come on your show and talk about mindfulness. And I think people probably, mindfulness, But the thing is, mindfulness means living in the moment. That's what it is. Living in the moment. I can't live in the moment. Well, you know what? God only gives you moment to moment when you think about it. All I live day to day. Honey, you're lucky if you get a whole day. Because from moment to moment, you could be dead. It's that simple.
You just never know.
Yeah. And if you look around us and see how many young people are dying from illnesses that normally used to kill older people, they are under so much stress. You know, we have, I'll take care of myself and I buy myself this brand new car. And my payments are $800 a month. You know, is that really self-care? I mean, seriously?
That's actually self-stress.
Not only that though, a lot of times we do things
For others.
I want people to see me and I put this facade out there. Really, and we're not thinking about the mental stress that we put ourselves under.
But actually, what happens there is actually something being hidden there. Reason being is because for a lot of people who actually takes care of what people want first, they say, that is what makes me happy. So what do you say to these people?
It's also going to make you dead. Seriously. Seriously. Because there is no way that you can maintain that. You cannot maintain it. You will for a little bit, you know. But your mental health is going to suffer. Your spiritual health is going to suffer. There's going to be some place in your life where you're suffering. And we see them. We see the ones where it's the physical health that suffers. They look really haggard and broken down. And then they have a nervous breakdown, or what we used to call a nervous breakdown. Okay? You cannot sustain it. Yeah. Absolutely not. So self-care encompasses the activities that a person engages in to relax, right? And to reach emotional well-being. So some of the things I gave here, meditating. Now, you know, when I say meditating, people look at me like, meditating, ugh. Meditating doesn't necessarily have to be, you know. Meditating is actually taking time to focus on, say, a book that you're reading. You go study the Bible, maybe take a verse and you read on that and you meditate on it. Think about what it means and actually take that time to do that. Journaling, writing down the important things that you want to focus on. You don't need to go pay a counselor, you know, hey, I need your work. But seriously, journaling is so wonderful because you can write down these things that are bothering you or things that you're excited about.
It gives you a release.
Absolutely. It's a paper release. You can write things down. And when you go back, you can see where you were at some point in your life. All right? The mindfulness and setting boundaries. That's a big part of self-care, right? It's so important to be able to say no. There are points in your life when you have said yes too many times and it wears you out, it tires you out, okay?
But it's hard. And I can give my example. I think a lot of times people want to ask you to help in certain ways, and you can always use the extra time that you have to help everybody else. And I think one of the realizations I had was, I need my time. People don't take that too kindly.
But you know, if you don't, again, let's go right to the next picture, please. Let's go to the
But
next
you understand
picture.
when
Yes.
you have a lot of people asking for
I know.
commitments from you, and yeah,
Yes, and they will pressure
and
you.
you say no.
And they will try to pressure
Uh-huh.
you and make you feel guilty. You know, that's moms. Our moms do that really well, and other kids learn how to do that. And so you find yourself saying yes and yes to more and more things. But unfortunately, you are the one that suffers for this.
Yeah.
Look at this picture.
All right.
This is a classic example of self-care. On the plane, you are told, put on your mask first. And I hear lots of parents say, well, why should I put on my kid first? I love my children. Yeah, well, your child is going to be dead if you're dead, right? You have got to get oxygen first so that you can help your kid, older people around you. You have to take care of you first to be able to give.
If you're going to pass out
someone
midway
else.
of trying to get the mask on, it's pointless.
Absolutely.
Both of you are going to die.
You're going to both die. It's a perfect example of why it's important to take care of myself first, and not in a selfish way. Selfish way would be if I take the money for food and go buy a dress. That's selfish. Okay. If I take that money and go drink with my buddies, you know, rather than
Paying your bill.
paying my bills, because we'll get put out on the street.
Yeah.
That's selfish. That is not self-care.
Yeah.
All right. You cannot drink from an empty cup. Next slide.
Yeah.
You can't drink from an empty cup. Absolutely not. You're worth filling yourself up. You're worth it. And honestly, it comes again, self-esteem. And I don't mean self-pleasure. I'm talking about self-esteem. I have to recognize that I am worth taking care of. Nobody's going to do that for you.
Big question here. How long does it take one to take care of themselves?
John, if you can take 15 minutes out of your day, in the morning you get up, and when you get up, instead of jumping out of bed and start running right away, take those 15 minutes, maybe read something, listen to some music. I do that in the morning. I stop turning on the news. I don't want to see the news. It's too depressing. Then I turn on you guys, okay?
Get a good exercise.
Yeah. I can sit there, do some stretches, whatever it is you do for yourself. Doing that kind of thing to enhance your body, enhance your mind. Self-care. Doesn't take a lot of time. People you owe it to yourselves. Okay, you can't pour from an empty cup. I'm really stressing this point. I'm stressing it.
If you have nothing to give, how will you help?
How can you give? How can you? And the thing is, you see all these people that we're wanting to help. When you fall down and you're sick, who can you help? You can't even help your own self. So now your children are depending upon grandma and other people, and they're not going to give the kind of care. I know they love their grandkids. I know they love their nieces, nephews, but they cannot give the same kind of care that you will give if you're healthy and when you're healthy. All right.
Can I ask a question? I think one of the things John said before is so important, that a lot of people mold their happiness and satisfaction from what they give or do for other people. You know, whether in a community setting, whether in a family, whether in a relationship, it's my pride comes from what I have done and continue to do for you. Forgetting what I mean. I mean, I could have like a massive toothache and need to go to the dentist for months, but refuse to pay for that because I want to make sure that you or my community or anybody else is happy. Where does that stem from? Why are some people, they almost seem wired to feel that that is the source of happiness?
There's a name for that. It's called codependency. Okay? And codependency comes from, and unfortunately, I'll tell you, in our societies, we have a lot of functional alcoholics. We have a lot of people who drink to excess. They're not alcoholics, but alcohol plays a major role. Sometimes it's drugs. Sometimes it's just, maybe there's someone with a mental illness in the family. The children are taught, don't be selfish. You do this and you do that. And they learn that very early in life, right? As adults, unfortunately, they continue that because that's what they know, right? They're unhappy. They don't know why. Go look up the term codependency. And there are things that you can do to help yourself, but it starts with setting boundaries and saying, I really can't afford to go do that. I need that time for me. I need a Marlene day. And a Marlene day means that I'm just going to stay at home, open up my doors, play with my puppies, brush my hair if I want to. I'm taking a Marlene day.
Yeah.
You take it. You owe it to yourself. I'm not saying do it every week. You know, you can have a Marlene hour. But
I want a Marlene day.
the point is, take a day for yourself where you do nothing but fun things just for you. And if it means you may have to tell some folks, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Not today.
Yeah.
Or not this week. Okay, and stick to it. Don't just say I can't do it, stick to it.
But folks might say we live in a society where folks don't understand that I need to take that time out.
Well, how do
and
we
then
change
we
societies?
build and then we build enemies.
How do we change societies? We change societies by educating, by giving them information. We have a society where people are, we've become like America, you know, where we talk about the rat race. Because in the States, you have to work several jobs and to make ends meet and things like that, right? We're doing the same thing here. Husbands and wives are working and everybody's running a couple jobs at a time. We are now living the rat race. We are seeing the stress, the effects of stress. We're seeing that in our people. And guess what? We're a perfect society for that to happen because we have been trained like circus elephants to take care of everybody else. We have been. Okay. Let's real quick. The goals, plans, a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. Okay. A goal broken down then becomes a plan, and you execute. Okay. Very, very important. We've done this now since last month. You guys have been talking about this.
Yeah.
If you're taking care of yourselves, that's one of the things that's important to do, to have goals, to have a plan.
You can have a goal
execute.
to do better at self-care, whether it's
Absolutely.
one thing a week for yourself.
And I just want to throw in spirituality, how important that is. Because spirituality isn't just about going to church. Spirituality is taking care of the inner me. And that you do that with the meditation, you do that with the prayers, you do that with some alone time where you're connecting. Spirituality is listening for God to tell you the answers to the things that you're talking about. It's not just this, gimme, 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 right?
That's right. All right.
Wait a minute, one more. So, signs of self-care is needed. I have it there, people can go look at it. There are non-physical signs, you know, if you're having physical signs, chest pains, fatigue. Fatigue is a big one. If you're
Always
constantly
tired.
fatigued, right? Sometimes that could be depression, but a lot of times it's just that you're doing too much. Clear sign. Feeling guilty, feeling unhappy. I always want to say this. If you constantly are worrying about things, you're a person, you're going to have anxiety attacks because you're living in the future.
Of course.
And if you're constantly complaining and talking about how bad things are, and you're suffering depression, you're living in the past. You're trying to change things that have gone, you can't do anything about, they're gone.
They're gone.
Forgive yourself, ask forgiveness from the people who you may have hurt, and move on.
And you know, and I think that's a big part of relieving yourself of the stress by asking the people who you've hurt for forgiveness. Because
Absolutely.
there and then you know that you've come clean to them, and that takes off a big part of the burden from your life. That's
Absolutely.
Excellent, Jenny.
Absolutely. If we could move that on, because I can't read this thing here.
You know, and I wonder, because sometimes I feel like we hear more and more about people suffering from anxiety and
And living in the future.
yeah, and I think, you know, maybe a bit of self-care before, I'm not talking if you have an issue, can help.
Absolutely. Listen, people who are worrying about all kinds of things, they're worrying about things in the future. Oh, I might lose my job. I got this car, I got to pay. And they're worrying about things in the future. If you're doing things in the now, living in the now, right here, right now, in the present, you can do the things that you need to do to ensure that you don't have those problems happen in the future.
My goodness, I wish you could say
Okay.
that again, because a lot
I
of
won't
folks
remember
can't.
what I said.
preparing yourself now. Preparing yourself now, and of course, takes care of what things will be like in the future. It's simple as that. And you know, wow, that's deep.
Yeah. And the thing, two things. One, you've got to get enough sleep. The body repairs itself in sleep. And I'm talking about REM sleep. This whole thing about 4 hours of sleep just doesn't cut
People
it.
brag about the time they sleep. 3 hours I got and I'm
Nothing
up.
good about it.
You
Yeah.
need sleep. Your body needs to repair itself. You've got to have sleep.
No matter what age you are.
Yeah. And the thing is that one of the major ways of self-care, try to get enough sleep. That means helping your kids with their homework early, getting them to bed, spend some time with the hubby, and get your sleep. You will be amazed at how much better you feel when you do that. And then the last thing I wanted to just hit on real quickly, some of the things that you can do includes breathing. And I love to teach breathing because it's so easy to do. When you're getting upset about stuff people are doing around you, if you take the time to breathe. But just get up in the morning and just do some deep breathing. So you breathe in through your nose, and you exhale through your mouth. Do that for me. Breathe in through your nose, right? Blow out. But then you count. So you breathe in for 4, and you exhale for 7, right? Impossible to stay stressed, impossible to stay angry, impossible to not feel good when you're doing deep breathing. And it's
all that
so
oxygen
therapeutic.
going in your body.
Yes,
How in
ma'am.
the world, you know, that simple exercise
Simple.
have you black everything out, and you think about the breathing exercise that you're doing and the amount of time.
Focus.
It's a focus.
It's called mindfulness. When you breathe,
Gosh.
wonderful.
There's free classes here.
My
Free
time's
classes.
up.
I know. And we covered it all today, so we're very good.
Excellent.
And, you know, I hope that the people who especially need this are listening and are able to just try one thing. If it's just the deep breathing to get themselves started.
And the sleep.
Yeah.
The sleep. If you could just do those two things, try to as close to 8 hours as possible. Get sleep and practice breathing. And when you do the deep breathing, you want to do about 7 of those. So it's breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
My gosh.
Because when you're blowing the air out,
Yeah.
you're blowing out all the negative
All the
stuff,
yes.
all the things you're worrying about. You focus on getting rid of those. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Oh my
We're
gosh.
gonna go ahead. We'll give you some more time to breathe, John. Don't worry. Don't worry. But thank you so much once again, Jenny. We appreciate it.
As per usual.
Once again, if the very least you can do is try to get enough rest and practice some deep breathing each day for yourself, then you know that you are moving towards better self-care. So please do. We're gonna go ahead now and take a break. And when we come back, we'll be joined by the Cayo School of Music. So stay tuned.
These are the people who I want to appeal to. Make those little slips. It happens. You have to have a plan to manage your problems effectively. How are you going to do it? Fall off the horse? Jump right back on.